Yeah. Walter's an asshole. I'm schizophrenic.
You're like, yes, Teresa, or what?
Yeah. Okay.
Fuck Walter, yeah, I know.
She keeps trying to get me to, like, do shit for her that I just don't want to do. Like, we were talking to Walter about getting shrooms.
Yeah.
And, I probably shouldn't have name dropped that one.
You didn't say his last name or location.
You gonna do spliff?
Dang, fuck yeah! A joint in a fucking blunt, or a spliff in a blunt? Yeah, keep going.
What was I saying?
I don't know, but you got me excited. Oh, Walter Shrooms.
Oh, yeah. Walter said that he could get me shrooms. So I'm like, alright, I want to get like a gram for Teresa. And then he changed his mind and decided, hey, I don't want to be involved in this.
Yeah.
He thinks, well, he's probably got a point, but schizophrenics taking mushrooms generally isn't a good thing.
He doesn't want to be legally required for it, yeah. Not even legally, just like, be the one who does it.
He doesn't want to be involved. But she asked me if he would sell to me. And I'm like, yeah, probably. It's like, well, why don't you buy mushrooms and then I'll buy them off of you? It's like, no.
What'd you say?
I told her no. I'm not going to betray Walter's trust by doing that.
Oh, okay, what'd she say?
She just kept trying to convince me and, like, using, like, I don't even know what to call it. The thing where you just try to justify something to someone so they'll do what you want.
Yeah.
And she does
like
that
guilt
constant.
trip, sort of?
No, it wasn't guilt trip. It's like, it was more like, we're not lying to him if you do it this way, and if he doesn't ask, It's like, no, he flat out told me he does not want to be involved, and if I bought the mushrooms from
it would
him
be involving him.
yeah, and sold it to him. Bottom line is, if he found out, he would be upset, and that's really what matters.
So are you like a decent friend with Walter?
Yeah, I like Walter.
Oh. It's nice, whatever. I'm just kidding. What did I write down? But yeah, it's an interesting thing with her and how the relationship and her personality.
Yeah.
Speaking on politics, have you heard about Andrew Yang?
Mm-mm.
So I wrote it down, so that's why I wanted to bring it up. So he's this Democratic person running for presidency. He's gotten a little bit of recognition from young people, but he's like, out of all of the front runners for the Democratic Party, he's probably not going to be it. And he's this Asian, the whitewashed dude. But if you go on his website, he really has an answer for everything. Does it make sense? For any political question, he has an answer for it. And that's very different from a normal Democratic candidate. And he's like the only one who has like a decent thing for universal basic income. And he was saying how, I should probably listen to the whole thing, but briefly, I kind of like the idea. So I think this has to do with biopower, and I told you about. Do you have something to say?
I was gonna say, do you want to smoke that other swisher while we roll and talk?
We can, yeah, I guess. What's it called? Yeah, so he has this idea for universal basic income. And I told you about my teacher's theory of biopower and how they're controlling, they're surveilling us, and that's how they're controlling us and stuff like that. I told you about that, right? Like surveillance and then like also how, this is a little off topic, but we talked about the Chinese government and what they're doing, right? Remember that? How they're trying to monitor everyone, Big Brother style.
I kind of know of it. I don't remember talking about it.
Okay, well, we talked about it on the podcast. And, So his idea is that we put a tax on data, cause like they get all this information from us. Does it make sense? From us downloading a free app. Does it make sense? And so they sell that information, and they're not being taxed at all. You know what I mean? So, for example, you download Waze, which is a GPS app to help you communicate with other drivers. You give them permission to your exact location. Now, this location tells you go to this store, you go to this work, you know what I mean? And it's not like they're using it miscellaneously or like maliciously in any way, you know what I mean? But what they're doing is, you know what I mean? Is what I'm saying make sense?
Like they aren't paying taxes?
Well, no. They're using just useless information and turning it into like profitable. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So yeah, for no consequences. So he says, why don't we just tax them? Get rid of the social security, get rid of social benefits and stuff like that, and do a flat out like universal basic income. And he says everyone gets $1,000 a month. How do you feel about that?
Sounds nice. Can we afford it?
That's what he's saying, is that if these big data companies keep getting bigger, it would be easy to afford it. You know what I mean? As long as we put this data tax. You know what I mean? I think he has good ideas. That he's someone worthy of listening to, but he's too center to the point that the Democratic Party is just gonna be like, oh, he's a fucking alt-right. You know what I mean? He's not radical enough for them, basically. Also, because they don't consider Asians a minority at all. I don't know why. I think because Asians are successful, that I don't even know. But people have a skewed perception of Asians.
So wouldn't that like really inflate the economy?
No, because he's getting rid of. So if you get rid of social securities and a lot of social benefits, one, we're gonna have a shit ton of money. That's like 15% of our economy. So it's like, we'll have a shit ton of money. And then he puts this, that's why I need to listen. I'm literally talking out of my ass. But he mentioned some type of data tax that I told you about. And that would justify a lot of the $1,000 a month. Huh?
So I just in there.
Oh. That's gross.
It works. These things taste fucking gross.
I'll have to spit right on the floor. I didn't know how to react. Get the fuck away from me. Get out. Not to cut you off or change the subject, but me and Steven were talking about bees, and I have that opinion about bees. I don't give a fuck about them, but I don't want them fucking with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, try.
That's how I do it with her. That's my thing with spiders. It's too windy.
Dumbass.
It's been burning still, right?
Well,
It's on the...
Where? Yeah, that's it.
I don't know if you know this, but this is flammable.
Yeah, I know, but it wasn't gonna take off. I was eyeballing it.
That's my number one fear, is that some bit of ash just
because everything in this car is... I didn't even think about that.
We'd get stoned too. There's enough fucking weed in there. But
do you think that there's so much weed in the carpet and shit like that, and in the from us smoking it, that if you burnt it, it would smell like weed? Does it make sense?
probably be a hint of weed. I know I want watched some interesting stuff over this week.
But yeah, you didn't even tell me about how you feel. You don't like the idea, or what? You're just iffy about it?
About what?
Universal basic income.
I mean, I don't really know the downsides yet.
Well, you would lose things like Medicare and Social Security and social benefits.
I wonder how much, like... Do you think everything would just, like, go up? Like, insurance and shit like that?
What do you mean? Like, do you think the cost of insurance and shit would go up?
Yeah.
Maybe.
That looks ghetto as fuck.
What do you mean? Now I'm just gonna roll it up in this to give it some structure.
So yeah.
You don't have anything to talk about?
I guess. Where have you been in, like, the country?
What do you mean?
Like, what states have you been to?
Been to Nevada, Arizona, Colorado, Washington D.C., West Virginia, California. I don't know. That's really it. Why?
I'm trying to think. I was talking to Walter, because we drove through, Indio. Do you know where that is?
In California?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That town is fucking sweet. It's right between, like, a Rocky Mountain pass. So
Mhm.
all of this fucking wind goes through, and there's just windmills everywhere.
Okay.
It's always, like, cool. And then there's, like, a fucking cargo train that goes through the highway there.
Okay.
I really like the area. And then, like, just 5-minute drive, and you're in, like, farm country.
This looks fucking ghetto as fuck. You ready? You just want to try smoking it? Sorry, what about it? You just like it?
I was talking briefly about, like, moving there at some point.
Like with your van?
Yeah. I don't know. Everyone's, like, sort of talking about leaving California.
Well, let me tell you this. California is literally, like, the only type of socialist utopia. Like, you could do a lot of stuff. You understand, like, in a lot of states, you can't get away with what you're doing right now, or what you did when you got here. You know how you were not registered and stuff like that, and no one knew you're here and stuff like that? Yeah, you can't do that in a lot of states.
Why?
Because they're just a lot stricter on it, and California doesn't give a fuck because they like immigrants and stuff like that. It keeps them in power.
What were you saying about Social Security and, like, the immigrants? You said you can, like, just get an ID and get a Social Security card from there?
Yeah, so there's, for example, I don't want to talk about, like, specifics, you know what I mean? But a family member of mine, multiple family members of mine, I think they got rid of it at least recently because of legal issues. But literally, fucking, you would be able, like, early 2000s, you could still do it. You could just go up and just say, hey, I need a security number, and they would just give you a brand new one. Does that make sense? It was a very flawed system.
Ooh.
Dang, you ready to smoke this bad boy?
That's it.
Whoa, why are you laughing?
It looks like a...
Chode?
It looks like you took, like, a Swisher thing and just stuck a fucking stick into it. It's all, like, thin and curves off to the side. So have you decided on like a degree, or are you just going to school?
Yeah. I think I want to do business, because I told you about my plan yesterday. I think I want to do that, and then if it doesn't work, I'll just go back, get a business degree, get as much money, and then go back into film. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's like, I get to try. If it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. What?
I burped.
Should I just take it off and we still go like this?
There's no filter on it, is there?
But it's blocked.
Fuck it, let's try it. Ooh, let's see if I have my cigarette holder in there.
Oh, hearing this?
Yeah. There you go.
Ooh, oh, I'm really feeling nicotine in my nose. Ooh. I can't deal with it. Here.
Can't deal with that wacky tobacco.
Oh, like I'm tearing up. Look at it. What? Oh, sorry, I might have had a little too much slobber. Oh my god. I was real puffing on it and went in my nose and I was like, take it. Do you find it?
And
Hold on to it real quick. Feel free to enjoy it. Talking to us?
I don't know. That guy's like staring the shit at us.
Where?
Is that white car in front of us? He's at the driver's side. He like, keeps looking over at us.
Oh, okay.
Now he's talking to the guy, but
Yeah, you can go.
what time are we on
What?
for the recording?
21 minutes. I guess we can go into the next topic I have written down. What do you feel about Tyler 1? Just like in general.
I don't know. Is he still like a thing, or?
Yeah, he's not the biggest thing like he used to be, but he's still a thing.
I don't know. I never really watched him. He always just seemed like the kind of screamer.
Yeah, he is. But I don't know. I was just really watching. I started rewatching him recently because he's kind of getting. I don't know. Tyler's really good at like getting people to follow him again. Does that make sense? And so he started like a 10K bet with another YouTuber, and that's what everyone's kind of following them to now. And yeah, it's just I was just really thinking about his personality and like how he does it. Like he's like the stereotypical gamer, right? Like he came from a football and stuff like that, but like the way he acts and like, I'm gonna fuck you up, you know what I mean? That's like gamer.
Yeah.
And I was thinking like I think that's really his selling point. Okay, now I'm gonna try to line the blunt.
Oh, here.
What? Do you have something to direct it?
Yeah, you got Walter's dad too. What's in here? I saw it. Ooh, that's fucking gross.
Here. Just get a napkin. Let's see, watch. Oh, God. That just dragged all the napkin with it. I can use the other side. Why is it like that?
It was at the bottom of the smoke bag. And there's a bunch of ash in there.
If this doesn't fuck us up, dude. I'll be surprised. There it is. Baby, I need you in my life. It's like the most emo song ever. Oh shit. It's kind of fucked. Okay, we'll see how this goes. It's so funny. X is dead and just people play his music. I don't know, it just seems like, you know, Tupac died, you know what I mean? How everyone used to feel. Like, that's how people treat you now.
That's how I always think of, what's it called, X. Everyone treats him like Tupac. They treated Tupac now.
Yeah. Because I think everyone just kind of wants a king, you know what I mean? Do you want to smoke this right here? Oh?
Nah. Let's go somewhere else.
Let's get the tobacco. Oh, there's my glasses. Hand me another nug of yours. Just so we have more bud. Not too much, just a little thing.
Okay.
I'll give you another one, like that size if you can, or not bigger. Ooh. Yeah. That's good. Just sprinkle it. We don't want too much where we're fucking cross-eyed and we don't want, you know what I mean? I've never heard of you say something more genius, Adam.
Oh, I figured out a trick last night.
What?
I can remember voices based on certain phrases, and that's how I bring them back.
By something they say?
No, like, Little Kaiser kind of thing.
Yeah, that's also known as voice acting. I think it's just because when you read the line, you kind of get a sense of the character that you're trying to portray. Make sense?
Yeah. Did that tip over?
What?
With the wax? The joint?
The blunt? Here, yeah, you can hold it, or you can beat the guard of it. Just let it dry in the sun or something, I don't know. It might be too crusty, I don't know. It might make it crusty. I want you in my life, in my life. Don't go switching sides. What else did I have written down? Tyler one. Oh yeah, the podcast idea. So I texted you a little bit about it. I had this idea for a podcast, and it would be like a political podcast, but what's different is because I've been watching a lot of like IRL interviews with people who are just trying to talk to people on the left, make sense? And it ends up with violence or just crazy stuff. And so I'm like, it'd be interesting to have just a podcast with that, where it's like, you're not judging people based on their looks or anything, you know what I mean? Oh, here, I want to hit it. Or anything. Yeah, it was out or something.
I think it's just about there.
But yeah, you're not judging people based on their looks or anything, you know what I mean? It's strictly on what they have to say. And you just go into politics about with them. So what do you think? Yeah, and so I mentioned in the text too is that it would be interesting to have something like Joe Rogan where he just brings in new people and then we just talk about politics, makes sense, and we give our opinions. And we bring in people we don't agree with, or we talk about politics for half the podcast, and the other half would be us going in public on this would be completely pre-recorded. This wouldn't be something we do live, but it would be that would be the whole purpose of the podcast.
Yeah. I was thinking of something in a similar vein, not necessarily like political, but I'd really do like the idea of having like pre-recorded bits that we could just
pull up.
Yeah. Make it almost, or how like TV shows run their thing.
Yeah. That's it? That's all you're thinking
about? Oh, so yeah, it'd be like, I'd probably want to do more like, I'm not sure what I would want to do.
But do you like the idea of politics? You'd have to start like getting into politics, though.
Yeah.
Here. I want it in the sun. I think it's gonna fuck it up.
I was wondering if you'd be willing to just like get a bunch of links and send them to me, so I know exactly what I need to read.
No, because I want you to find stuff that you agree with. Make sense? If I just give you shit that I think is right, does it make sense?
Well, it's like I still need to know what socialism is as like a whole package. Like I know somewhat what socialism is, but I don't know like really know.
I think if we're just gonna I guess we can just kind of talk about that. I think socialism is really, in the new sense, is it's kind of breaking away from it's kind of just social reform and stuff like that. It's a lot more broad than politics, and that's why people are kind of in favor, or starting to get in favor of it. And it's not the extremism that I sometimes paint it out to be. You know what I mean? Mm. But it's like it's libertarian. I don't know. It's like I don't know how to explain it. But it has to do with social benefits and how people treat each other. You know what I mean? Mm. And the controlling of actions of people. You know what I mean? While libertarians, on the other, is for completely limited government. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And why did I bring that up? I don't know. That's kind of what you need to know. The basis of socialism, I guess. But like, I don't know.
So what's the difference between conservatism and liberalism?
Libertarianism is conservatism, but recently in the last 20 years, the left has taken libertarianism and put it under their own agenda. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And so they're using libertarianism as something that liberates people, when in reality it's something that conservatives did. You know what I mean? Or not even conservatives, Republicans. So it's just a moniker that they're taking for themselves, like how in the gay community they take the word faggot or queer, you know what I mean, and they embrace it. You know what I mean? That's what they're doing. They're embracing the conservative, libertarian viewpoint, not viewpoint, but the name, and they're taking it and twisting it into what they want it to be. Does it make sense? Mm-hmm. So liberals and libertarianism is different than what actual libertarianism is in the Republican Party. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Do we just think that, like, they change the meaning of a word by just, like, using it for themselves?
Yeah. And people who know, like me, know they're not real libertarians. We know they're trying to be socialists, which, once again, I don't think there's anything wrong with being completely I think they're... I don't know, because I've been watching a lot of things where people are, like, really criticizing, fucking politics... Not politics, but fucking, socialism. But I really think... Can you give me your bag? That socialism... The little green thing. Remember? I really think socialism... The little green container that you put weed in? I really think socialism can be something that benefits people, but I think the way that people are going about it is way wrong. And I think there should be social benefits, but I don't think anything more than that.
Yeah, I think I agree.
Yeah.
It's like helping people, or just giving people aid isn't bad. It's when you...
No, it's not even that, because we're talking about money, and we're not giving people, because we're not... We can... There's no such thing as a free lunch. That's like a term that to be understood. Like the lunch, the food comes from somewhere. Someone gives you the food. You know what I mean? Like the food gets to you somehow through money, and that money has to be pulled out from somewhere. Does it make sense?
Well, I agree with the country working to give everyone the foundations for shit like that.
Yeah, and there is, I think people don't understand that there is. Like, Trump didn't get rid of healthcare, you know what I mean? He said he did, but he was going to, but he didn't, you know what I mean? So I think there is social networks, but I think the free market economy has shown that it's done way more than anything socialism could ever do. You know what I mean? Really, really, okay, this is going on a whole nother topic. Think about all of human history, okay? All of human history in which there has been society, how about that, okay? In 300 years, we've done more. There's been societies have been under rule for thousands of years in China, you know what I mean? In 300 years, we've done more than them with just capitalism in our constitution. And people don't understand that. You know what I mean? So it's like, and not only that, in those 300 years, we converted the whole world to be based on what we thought of initially. So it's like, well, people are going against that, and then they're just going backwards, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that I think we should take what we learned and, like, build some type of social thing around, you know what I mean? I just think people are forgetting, like, what we truly did.
Do you think we could utilize some form of, like, how the Germany's government during World War II was? You think we could utilize that in some way to continue the pace that they had for just inventions, I guess?
Any type of authoritarian control, you know what I mean? Period. Never works out. And the only way to do it that we've noticed so far is through competition, you know what I mean? By just letting it out, letting it be completely mutual between the people, and eventually builds from there, you know what I mean? At no point through has force ever worked, period. In history, ever, you know what I mean? Not until capitalism, voluntary trade was invented.
Well, like, did they... was it like... they forced their scientists to work, or...
It was a nationalist socialist country. So everyone has jobs, everyone has everything, but it's for the greater of the nation. Make sense? So everyone's purpose, even if it was sweeping the floors in the streets, was for the betterment of the nation. Does it make sense? And that's what everyone's jobs were, and everyone's name was written down here, everyone was controlled, you know what I mean?
From what I can gather, it seems like socialism is... well, so socialism is more about the human... furthering the human race in general, and then capitalism rewards more individual approaches to things.
Basically. And, like, in capitalism, not to go on, I can't answer your question, but capitalism is a lot more than that. It's, capitalism really has to do with our constitution, everything that we think is, like, right. Does it make sense? Like, the ability for someone to make and think their own way cannot exist it cannot exist unless a free market system cannot exist unless people have that. There's a constitution that protects people's individual rights and human thoughts. There is no free market, you know what I mean, without that. So I'm saying in socialism, like, yeah. And yes, to answer your question, yes, that's basically what the premises are. But with socialism, I think it's not even for the betterment of people, but it's for money is towards social issues. Does that make sense?
Wait. Did it change?
You don't need to look at this one. I have one on thinking. I'll pull it up right now. There should be one for 110, 140, and 210.
Because I remember it was... I remember that, but the 140's not in there.
Yeah.
Well, there was 2 o'clock too, right?
Yeah, so look at Oceanside Burrito Stadium, us 140, us 210, us 310, 330. Speaking of that, do you want to just go to this one?
Sure.
We want to make locations? So you can submit?
Sure.
Okay, be right back. Just gonna what?
If it turns out that I have it, then hell yeah.
Torch that bitch out. Hey, you wanna light up with us? Imagine they all squeeze inside. You're lighting that bitch on fire, dude. What is it? Pass. Damn, do you smell it?
I can taste it.
Is it? Yeah, it is. Okay, maybe it's a little bit more flammable. Let's just smoke it. So what's up?
Huh?
We're recording.
Oh. Oh, did we start it?
Yeah. It's kind of hard to suck. Do you get it?
Try to keep a better grip on that. It'd be very sad if we dropped that into the soda.
I didn't even think about that. You kind of have to hit it to draw it, you know what I mean? Oh, it's having to burn through that oil. You didn't have your cigarette holder, man?
Mm-mm.
I guess we can talk about music for a second. Don't you think it's weird how music, like, really controls people?
Yeah.
And the way I mean, like, for example, like, the way your music makes you feel doesn't make me feel the same way. Does it make sense? But, like, some songs I listen to, I enjoy, but I assume it's not the same enjoyment as you. Does it make sense?
Yeah. How do you like this song?
It's too repetitive. It needs something else. Like, if there's, like, a switch up or something that happens? Like, right now? Is it the end of it?
It's weird.
What?
I don't think that's the end of it. It like pauses to do
No,
something.
but you said it's weird.
It doesn't. It like you can like drag in, but you don't get like smoke for whatever reason. Like it feels like a lot more would come out with that kind of head.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's packed a little too tight. You just gotta really hit it. Anyways, yeah. I've been really trying to think about it because something that's really plaguing me is like a stereotype of postmoderns are that they never invented anything. Everything is just merely a reproduction of what modernists invented. Does it make sense? So all our music, everything, all our clothes, all our fashion, all our buildings, everything is based on what they invented, and we just innovate from that. Does it make sense? So I'm thinking about that a lot, and I'm like, isn't it interesting that we haven't made anything? I'm like, what have we made that was completely ours? And I'm like, maybe rap, don't you think? Like, music-wise, like, is the only thing that they didn't invent.
Internet culture.
What do you want to explain? What do you mean?
I mean, internet culture is entirely a... Are you talking from, like... I don't know. I think the internet is, like, a big difference between postmodern and modern.
Oh, no. Modern, postmodern. I'm talking about... Because postmodern is, like... They're saying we're leaving postmodern into a postmodern because of the internet. Does it make sense?
What is postmodern?
It's because of the internet, because of our interconnectivity. We have this. So now this is another thing. People want to. This has to do with postmodernist thought. So if we're all interconnected like we are, can't we get rid of the electoral vote for a popular vote, like a national popular vote? And let me explain. I don't agree with it, but it plagues a lot of good questions. With the internet, like their main thing is that small states won't get recognition, but with the internet, like everyone gets to hear what Donald Trump has to say. Does it make sense? So we don't have those issues. And hold on. What else is the thing is that a lot of the votes that even Republicans voted that they got the popular vote but lost the electoral vote has happened with what's his name? The guy right before Obama, the second Bush number 2, Bush Jr. That he won the electoral vote but lost the popular vote and he was a Republican but so basically a bunch of Republicans wanted him, but the electoral college elected him in, and that's why he won. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that it might. My only thing is that means like these literally like the West Coast and the East Coast. Yeah, it's all over your lips. Would dominate everything.
Is that resin or the wax?
It must be both. But yeah, so isn't that interesting?
Who is it that's talking about like removing the electoral vote?
Oh fuck, who was it? It's a bunch of Democrats right now, but it's going on like right now. They're not even talking about what I'm talking about, right? Which is fucking insane, right? They're talking about this thing called the Electoral College of whatever or something like that. And for something to pass, it has to have 270 votes. That's how, like, even with the presidency and stuff like that, we're at 160 out of 270. We have California, Oregon, Washington, New York, Texas, like a bunch of states that are like, that's why it's so big. It's like a legit thing that people are thinking about. So what I'm saying is that the Electoral College is really that stops states like California from winning every single election. Does it make sense? And so I don't know how I feel. The National Popular Vote had some interesting things to say. The Electoral College of Associates, which is something that's going on right now, and that's why they're trying to get rid of the Electoral College. It's a different version, basically. And that seems okay. I forgot all the details about it, but I remember that it was okay. But I don't know, it's just interesting.
I wonder where we're going. Are we heading more? Are we gonna continue towards socialism, or like?
I think so, but no. I already told you that I'm not afraid that it's gonna be a socialist. Fuck, is that right?
Should be.
Damn.
What time do we have to be there?
Well, like oh fuck. Let's just smoke this and just go.
Are you gonna start that one too?
Yeah.
We should just smoke it after.
No, come on. Don't you want it right now?
We still got the other 2 podcasts.
Oh, it's one
Or
podcast.
one podcast.
But still. Look how beautiful it is.
Yeah, it'll be even better after we wait.
Fuck it, let's go. Alright, we gotta sign off. Are you done to drive and smoke this?
Sure.
We gotta go. We're going to the movies. We're signing off. Last words?
What you call it? Ooh, one thing. I think I figured out what I want to strive for when it comes to jobs in life.
What?
I want to get, like, paid. I want to, like, do the work and get paid for it.
Like you have now?
Well, once I get past the loan.
Yeah.
Like, that kind of work is, like, super...
Rewarding.
Yeah. So, I think I'll start to focus on that kind of work.
I'm telling you, the podcast. Really, honest to God, once you now you're gonna start getting money. If you want to invest in a podcast studio, we can, and that probably seems like the best thing for us to do. Like, if we really want to invest in that and get a podcast studio, if we start a podcast with politics and film, and then what we have, I think we can get some viewing. Yeah, that's it. Last words. That's it.
Yeah.
All right, we're signing off. This is mildly fatigued. Anything else?
Nope. Ciao.
Bye bye.